as the Dean from Fourth Generation for Education, and I'm so excited to have with me Mike this morning. Hello, Mike.
Hi, good morning, Ali. How are you?
So this is a special kind of a session where we are not live, and due to a technical problem last time, we are recording this session and we are going to share it with all our participants, yeah?
That sounds great.
Yeah, so I know that you prepared for us a kind of interesting session, how to prepare our new academic year, but let us know a little bit about who you are.
I'm happy to share some of that with you. So my name is Maike Silver. I was born and raised in Germany, but moved to the US when I was about 20, and I worked there for a very long time before going abroad again and working in Germany, in the Philippines, and in Mozambique. Currently, I am the junior school principal here at the Aga Khan Academy, Maputo in Mozambique. I've been in education for over 25 years, 18 of those in the IB, and I have worked as a PYP evaluator, consultant, workshop, and all kinds of different roles with the IB. But again, currently I am in Mozambique in a very unique school in one of the poorest countries in the world. This is where I'm reporting from today.
Very good. So for this session, we will have three essential questions that we are going to unpack together, right?
That's right. So the guiding questions here today are about involving some of the leadership and some of the teacher in the school-wide goals, what we want to achieve during the year. And then from there, I really want to talk a little bit about team building, which leads very much into also ensuring that we take care of our teachers in terms of well-being and how that can translate also into teaching our students about this. And so they kind of go hand in hand, these three sessions.
Very good. So let's give it a start.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. So let me start out with the very first question. How do we involve staff and leadership in what we do for the year? I just noticed a spelling error there, but hey. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to think about when we come back to school and we induct the staff into the new school year, the sessions that we have, who are they for? Who are we designing them for? And then we need to start thinking it shouldn't just be one person who's presenting everything. So how can we spread the love and involve multiple people on our staff into it? And then who will organize it? Who is in charge? Very often you might delegate something, but somebody always still needs to look after it to ensure that it's happening. And usually that is done from somewhere in the senior leadership team. But the senior leadership team does not always have to lead everything. So we need to decide how that is divided. And so what we've done at our school is, at first, the senior leadership team got together and we decided on, what are all the different things that need to be covered in an induction week. And when we started thinking about it, there were multiple things that came to our mind, and we're like, well, we don't have the time to do it all. So we needed to start to think about how do we prioritize it. And over here, you can see a list, and this is not conclusive, but this is how we're going to start it out, where we just threw all kinds of ideas into the mix. From there, we decided, okay, now that we have all these ideas, how do we prioritize them? And in order to do that, we grouped them. And so I put a couple of ideas out here. You can do this when you're in school with everybody with just some sticky notes. So everybody just writes on there what they think need covering. Or I used over here an app for a sticky note app where you can write it electronically and you can move the sticky notes around and where you can change colors. So in this case, we were online, and so we used sticky notes, wrote everything on there, and then we decided to identify who is this for? Is this something that is for our individual sections, for the PYP, the MYP, or the DP, or is it for all faculty? Then we thought about, okay, is this just for new staff, or is it for returning staff and new staff? Then we thought about who else needs to be part of this. Is this a whole school thing where the administrative team should also be involved? So all these things were going through our mind as we were grouping the sticky notes. From the grouping, we then decided that we needed to prioritize. And so we came up with a system of 1 to 5, and everybody got to stick on the sticky notes, whether or not they thought it was a #1 priority or, you know, it was a low priority. Then what we did, we counted the numbers on there and figured out, okay, how many of us thought this was the highest priority? As you can see over here, there were some very different results over here. But what we came up with, some of our priorities for this year were child protection. We felt that was really important to roll out with everyone. Staff well-being was a big concern of many people. And then we thought in the beginning of the school year, it was important to really do some team building activities. So this is just one of the areas where we decided which ones we wanted to highlight.
It's very interesting how some of the face-to-face exercise can be also done online, and you can still involve everyone in doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ali. And then from there, we really had to discuss it still, even though we put the point system on. As you can see, there are sometimes, like, for example, the social events, there was one person who thought it wasn't important at all. And so we wanted to ensure that everybody was heard in this group and could express why they thought something was super important or not so important. And from there, we then really decided which areas we wanted to address. And then from there, it became a scheduling thing. We needed to think, who do we want to involve in these sessions? And so we needed to speak to them. And then we needed to ensure that there was some clear communication to the team, what to expect on the day. So what we did, we spoke with all the different stakeholders that we wanted involved. And this wasn't just the leadership team. For example, we had a session, and you don't see it on this slide, on some ICT stuff. We had some staff members that over the summer did some workshops. We're using Seesaw and the PYP, for example. They did some workshops on that. And so we gave them a half-an-hour session where they could share their experiences along the way. And, you know, that way we gave ownership to so many different people during the time. But what was really, really important for us was to not overwhelm everybody, because you can put lots and lots of sessions in, but there's only a certain amount of time that people can listen. So we made sure that a lot of the things that we did were very hands-on, with people moving around and with group talks where people could discuss certain things. And so that was also very important for us. But here's just a quick slide on how we kind of identified where we were going to do this. This needed to be changed at the end because in Mozambique, we went back into the red phase and schools were closed. So originally, while we had staff on campus, we weren't able to bring them all together in one room. So we needed to still do a lot of stuff online or move it outside. So there was some movement at the beginning of the school year as we were walking through this. So this is how we decided on that one. And then one of the sessions that we did at the very beginning that we felt was really important was, a lot of times when we have new faculty come in, as a school, we think only about our school part of it, about the teaching and learning stuff. But in a school, there are so many other groups of people that support us from the outside, and that is often overlooked. And so what we wanted to do at the beginning, we really wanted to highlight to all faculty, new and old, all the different people that have worked over the summer to get things done, or some of the priorities from the different sections. So here we have not just our junior school and senior school, and the educational part, but also finance. What are their priorities right now? We've been getting some new buildings. So they were sharing with the teachers why maybe we can't get certain materials that the teachers wanted because they needed to prioritize the finance. Very important for teachers to know as well, right? We spoke to HR and some of the difficulties that they had, or some of the priorities that they are setting up, where we're getting a new salary scale. So that was important for people to know. Marketing as a growing school, you are always involved and you want to get more students. So by marketing, telling the teachers also about what their priorities are and how they can help in recruiting students became very important. So, that was just a very big part, that we wanted to show that we're not just here for the education, but that we are actually a whole group, a whole community that needs to work together to make this done.
I think the doctor and the nurse, they have also a very important role these days.
Absolutely. Yes, and we did have them in as well. I just forgot to list it. Good point, Ali. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So, and once we've had all this established and our learning set up, we really had to think about some of the activities. And again, if you put teachers in charge, they tend to go towards teaching and learning in the workshop style and things like that. But sometimes when you get the administration involved, they don't always do that. So one of the things we did, we sat with the different departments and gave them some ideas how they can make things more interactive and fun. And they really enjoyed that part of it. But what we really need to do whenever we do team building or collaborative activities, we need to carefully think about who is this for, that it doesn't just become, let's just do some fun activities, but give it some purpose. So we need to think about, is this just for the teachers? Is it for all staff? Is it for the leadership team, for new team members? And so really determining who it is for was very important. And then coming back to our goals that we want to set, why are we doing this? What is the purpose behind it? The values that a school has can be so embedded in these activities. So just keeping that in mind and using these different lenses as we're designing these activities was very important. The next thing is the cultural implication. I think very often in international schools, and in particularly in developing countries, the leadership comes in from a very Western culture. And to think about where we are and who we are working with, and how a team building activity that might work beautifully in America might not work in a context where we are, and getting that feedback from some of the local staff also proved to be very helpful for us. And in particular, when you're coming new into a school, into a leadership role. And then the next thing is really, when are we going to do it? Are we going to put it into the day? Are we going to have something at the end of the day on a Friday? How much time do we want to spend on it? Where will this be? Will this be in our sessions, in different classes? Will it be online? Will it be in the outdoor spaces that we have? So all these considerations need to happen. This thinking and these lenses need to be used prior to designing the activities.
And again, what is important regarding the team building, sometimes we do it only at the beginning of the year, and then we forgot about the team during the year. So what I did in my previous school, we had again, the team building at the beginning of the year during the induction, but then during the year we had like 2 or 3 activities organized by the team for the team. And so sometimes we had the math department doing a team building from a math perspective, the art department doing a team building from an art perspective. And then this is a very important message, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for pointing that one out. I absolutely agree with you on that one. And that is actually, this is something that I thought at this point, if people do a little bit of a reflection on their own school and kind of think about, okay, what perspectives do they need to consider And again, since this is not a live one, we can't put it into the chat, but this is a good thing to reflect on. So thank you very much.
Yeah, if the people are watching, it's a moment for them now to stop, reflect, take some notes. If they are two watching together, they can also talk and discuss.
Exactly, yeah. So thanks. So now I'm coming back, and here are just some slides over here. And again, it is the messages that you want to give during your team building. And this is from different places over here. In the first one, at the beginning of the school year, the senior leadership team goes out and they have a pancake breakfast for all members of the community, of the staff. So it's not just for the teachers, but also for the administration. So we were standing there for hours making pancakes for everybody, but it was really giving a lovely message to everybody. Hey, we are here to help you. You know, we are not here to command you around, but we are here to help you teach the students. And so it was a lovely message right there. The next one was in Germany, German culture. There's a lot of beer gardens around there. And interestingly, I looked at my Facebook just a few days ago, and I said, I noticed a notice where I said, I've been in Germany for 4 days, and I've been in 3 different beer gardens for induction week. So again, they are trying to show the culture around there and invited people out. Other activities that are great are, oops, sorry, I gotta go back. Wait, sorry. Is some collaborative games. And again, this needs to be carefully thought about where you are and who the people are. You know, sometimes climbing through ropes and stuff might not be appropriate in certain areas, or touching each other might not be a good use of a collaborative development. So, you know, people really have to be careful, but these are just some ideas. An amazing race, we've done them in multiple places where I have worked, and they are wonderful for team building as well. A big part of it is celebrating and bringing people into the local culture, I think is key. So one of the things here, we were in the Philippines and they have bunkers. And so the whole staff, we went out for snorkeling, diving, for, you know, whatever people wanted, but just kind of build it for the day. And another one is here in Africa, they are dancing a lot and they have family dances, and they do this all the time, and bringing people in with music has also been, you know, very helpful, and embedding it into the local culture. So these are just some ideas of some team building with very clear messages behind there. Over here are some other ones that we have done. And this is sometimes then when you go into certain session. To the left over here, this is an activity a friend of mine did with his staff, where they wanted to identify what is the culture of our school? What do we want our school to be like? And he put out all kinds of modeling clay and material, and let the teachers do use arts and crafts and build something that they will then later on explain to the group. It gives great conversation if people are doing it in a group, and sharing of ideas. And so these art activities are wonderful at the beginning. I know, Ali, you've done a lot of those as well.
True.
And they really support
what I like again in the slides, it's this whole idea of the questions and then the connection to the key concept as well, because it's very interesting sometimes in the induction to embed our IB language and also make it visible. No,
absolutely. In the picture on the right, we ask people to write something that they value about our school. And then we created these little flags, and they were hanging across the school. And it was a wonderful activity to do with the teachers because it gave us their perspective. But then it was also a great one that they would then take back to their own classes. And so they could develop that within that group.
But the whole idea of this team building is really to, again, take it back to the class and spend some time during the first week, getting to know the student, breaking the ice, and then building all these connections.
Absolutely. And again, the purpose right here, we had a very clear purpose. It was all we wanted to develop a teaching and learning policy that year. And so getting people to bring out their values and start something like this in the very beginning really sets the tone then for the year. It is fun, it builds team, but it has a very clear purpose. One of the things you need to think about.
What I like as well is like that we have a product, and then this product can be displayed, and then again you can tell the student that we did it before your arrival, and now you need to do it or do something similar. And so we are all learners, and it's reflected and displayed from day one.
Right. And the other thing you have to really do is think about the groupings right there, right? Because the school, I mean, it depends what school you're coming from, but is this something where you want to build within a section, or do you want to, should this be something where you want to build collaboration across the entire school? So do you want to put teachers or staff into a group, or do you want them choose who they would like to work with? You know, those kind of things are really important, but it all depends on what is the purpose behind what you want to achieve with the activity. And then the other thing that I find very important for staff that helps collaboration, that helps well-being and team building is whenever we have meetings, to try to set them up as much as we can as PD sessions, and not as sessions where we tell teachers about certain things. I think that is just super important. You were talking, Ali, earlier about a math session, how you let a math teacher get in charge of this. Math has so many wonderful games and ways to explore material. And when you get people engaged like that, they love it. It's so much better than just telling them, you know, giving them, letting them experience what we want the students to experience. It sticks with people and allows them to reflect on their own practices. So here are just a couple of ideas of what we've done. There was some math manipulatives that came out that we were working with. The other thing that we've done this year was we created some essential agreements, and our school has very particular values and strands embedded in our curriculum that we need to include besides just the IB values. And so we decided to bring those to life and create our essential agreements around that. And while we were doing that, we used all kinds of strategies, from independent thinking to sharing in a small group, to jigsawing people out. And so we had all these different methods involved in our PD session that then when we reflected at the end of the day, the teachers were, oh, I can do that with my kids and that like this, and we can do it like that. And so it was just a wonderful way to get people to be excited. And so just to reflect on this for a minute is that we all want to think about the process over the product. It is so important to reflect not just at the outcome, because we do want an outcome, but the process is just as important, and giving time to reflect and have teachers be able to think about how can we embed this into our classroom is really, really important. And then, you know, being very clear with the purpose. Why did we do this? And have people think about it, that it actually is not just a fun activity that we've done, but there is a clear purpose behind it. So these reflective questions, I think for me, are super important in anything that we do in a school. Ali, do you want to add, do you have anything to add on this one?
Yeah, I think like we're making it very explicit. And so the feedback, the reflection, this moment, if we are modeling it to our teacher, That's mean we want them also to model it for the students. And then it's this whole idea of the quality and not the quantity. I can do 3 team building exercise in 1.5 hours, or I can do 2 and then give enough time for the reflection and for the process and the why behind it. And this is again a powerful message.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing that we do at the end of any of these things is just we need to collect feedback from the staff, you know, listen to their voices. What worked well, and where do we maybe need to tweak this one? Just like we want the teachers to reflect on their teaching and take notes for next year's in their planners, we need to do the same as an administrative team, you know. And then the next year, if you look back at your notes from the year before, you know, share the changes that you've made, you know, be transparent and show your own vulnerability as well. You know, we don't all have to be perfect. And sometimes things don't work as well as we had envisioned it. And it's okay. And it's okay to say it. That way you involve, you know, everybody in the process of the induction as well. So involve, empower, and value multiple stakeholders. I think those are some of the key message I wanted to give around this section.
Totally agree. Usually, I'm one of these, let's say, workshop leaders. When I'm running workshops or I'm using something for the first time, I say it. And I say it at the beginning, and then I let them know that I'm trying this with you for the first time. So if it works, it's very good. If it don't, let's reflect on the why and then how we can improve it. Because here again, you are modeling that we can take risks, and then by failing, we learn from our mistakes, and that's how we grow as humans.
Absolutely. And I think when you show vulnerability to your staff and to the teachers, they respect you for it. They don't see it as a weakness, but actually say, you know, we're all human, we're all in this together.
So what's next?
Next, we've got a few more ideas over here, Ali.
Okay.
Again, collaboration is a great piece of promoting well-being. Right? When people are involved, when people are happy in what they are doing, when people are learning in a safe environment, that promotes well-being. And so one of the things that we've done in particular this last year, where very often we had to do Zoom conferences rather than face-to-face conferences during the pandemic, we always started every meeting with a game. And those were, depending on the topics that we had, we did a math game or we did a language game, but it was always modeling something that the teachers could then take back into their class to do in their own Zoom meeting. So this is just one example that we did with them. The answer is, and then they had to come up with different questions around this, and it became really fun. They wrote it in the chat rooms. We sometimes had them do discussions in breakout rooms, but when we started with a game like this, the teachers just kind of were looking forward to the Zoom call. You know, they're like, oh, we're gonna do a new game, and it was really fun. And then again, after every time we do something fun like this, we're coming back, what does this help us with, you know? And so breaking it apart, why are we doing what we're doing, explaining the purpose and being very explicit about it. In the right picture over here, we have been working with the 6 bricks, and I'm not sure if people are familiar with it, but it is basically you have 6 different colors of Legos, the same shape. And there's all kinds of activities that you can do with this. Here at our school, every student has a set of 6 bricks on their table, and we're doing different activities with them. And again, at the beginning of a workshop, this is what we did with the teachers. We let them trial these things amongst themselves before they are bringing this back to the students. In this instant, each teacher had like 6 bricks like this, and they were standing back to back. You'll see that in the back over there. And then one teacher would stack the Legos in a certain way, and they would have to explain to the other one how they were stacking it. And the person behind them would then have to stack the Legos the same way. Once they were finished, they were turning around and looking if they were doing it the right way. And so it was all about communication
What a great
skills.
exercise for communication. Yeah.
It was brilliant, but it was also very funny because some people stacked it completely in a different way. And so it just, really showed the importance of communication. And you can do memory games with this, and you can do all kinds of games. But by doing it with the teachers and letting them experience it, I mean, you see the smiles on their faces. They were loving it. And they stayed on afterwards and asked if they can play longer. So,
Yeah,
then
you tell them it's break time and they are still playing.
Exactly. So, that bringing that fun into the day-to-day thing, I think is just so important. 6 bricks, really great stuff. Another thing that we did last year is highlighting some ideas and practices from our teaching team. So there were certain teachers that did something great in the classroom. We picked up on this, and then every week at the end of the week, we published this to the whole team. And so we made sure that every teacher at some point was highlighted in some of the practices that they did. And they just loved it. Now they wouldn't, if they had questions, they knew who to go back to. They wouldn't have to come through us all the time. And it really helped form that group. So this is just one of the publications that we have done.
It's all about sharing best practices and make it very visible.
Exactly. And then last year we didn't, but we are planning this year to kind of post these in our staff room so that teachers can go back to it and see some of these ideas. Well-being sessions are great. If you have talent on your staff, is there somebody who wants to do yoga? Let's do it. This Friday, we're going to have a soccer tournament for our staff. We have a very young staff for the majority of them. And so they're going to have a soccer tournament against each other. And, that really brings people together. And the ones that don't want to play are going to be there to cheer the other ones on. And we tend to have a lot of fun with that. Exercise classes, have been bringing people together. Music, here in Africa, the drums and different instruments are just super important, and people love to dance. So sometimes at lunchtime, we just bring all the musical instruments out in the middle of the court, and anybody who wants to can come and join and play with us, and it's really brought everybody together. We learn, the expats learn about some of the local songs and traditions, and really a lot of fun. A teacher choir, oops, there's another R missing. A teacher choir is another thing. If you have people that sing, very often we think of team building with around sports activities, but there are so many other ones that we can think about. A meditation session. Those are just a few that I was thinking of at the time that I have.
And I usually add also some language classes. So
yes.
We learn a little bit of Arabic, the host country language, and these are fun in the induction. So you do an intro, and then you ask from the teacher to go and to learn a new word or a new sentence, and then the following day they will come and try and practice it. And then this launch a club during the year where if people are interested in learning Arabic, it's run by our Arabic department, and then it's in the afternoon. So.
Yes, those are great ideas. Really nice. But it builds team, right? And what you said, Ali, earlier, that just kind of stuck with me. Very often we start out with these things and then they peter out. And so it always needs somebody who continues to drive this or just remind people sometimes, hey, we haven't done this in a long time. Should we go back and do this again? Another
nice.
thing that I think is just really amazing for well-being is just stories. One of the things we've done we have, right now we have online assemblies with our students, and every assembly we finish with reading a book. And we have certain themes that run through the assemblies. But in particular right now, with kids still being at home and them missing school and missing their friends, stories around well-being are just really, really powerful. The other thing that we do currently for our students is at the end of the day, we have a Zoom call and the teachers read stories to the kids. So they can ask some questions and things, but the first part of it is the teachers reading to the kids to make a connection. And we're very careful about choosing the books that we want to do right now. And we have created a well-being structure throughout the year of the different things that we want to address at different age groups. And they always include stories and books. And I think this is really, really important. One of the changes that we're making in our scheduling when the students are coming back to school, we've added a well-being session once a week, where we are really going to be focusing on that. And that is a separate class from their math and from the language and the UI and all these other classes that they have. It really is going to help them focus on well-being and discussing these things. Stories. I know, Ali, you love them.
I love stories. You know, I love this, and I always recommend like a storytelling moment during the day and on daily basis.
Yeah. So it's wonderful. And this is just, you know, an example. There's so many stories out there that are just really easy to find. One of the things that I think is really important, and it's something that we haven't gotten that great at the school yet, is we are a Portuguese speaking country. However, the books that we can get in Portuguese, it's sometimes difficult to find these stories. And so making sure that we share them in the country's languages as well, I think is really important. So other things that I think are key for both the well-being of students and teachers is this transparency piece. You know, when people give you feedback, you got to listen to it. You got to bring it back along the way so that people are sure that their voices are actually heard. If you can't do something they like you to do, you need to let them know why you can't do something. I just want to give a quick example. Yesterday, we were having some reading assessments that we were doing online. And it was difficult for some of our teachers. And they came back to us and said, oh, this is just so hard. And we're struggling with this, that, and the other thing. So what we did, we decided to bring the whole group together for half an hour and just say, okay, we did this for the first time. What worked, what didn't work? What tips and tricks do you have for each other? And we walked back and everybody walked away with some ideas. We continued with what we wanted to do, even though the teachers came originally with us thinking, oh, can we just not do this anymore? But because of the conversations we've had, everybody walked away happily and continued doing it. So there we involved them in finding the solutions. And then another thing is at the beginning of meetings, we very often ask this question, how are we? You know, are you okay? You know, is there something that bothers you? Is there, and people start sharing some of these things so that we can address it right then. So not just going straight into a meeting, but going, hey, are we all okay? You know, is there something that anybody needs? Really helps develop this well-being piece. Another thing that we are currently doing is because we're doing online learning and it's very difficult also for the children, but also for the teachers. What we have decided, we're doing 4 days of like some core teaching and Fridays are fun Fridays. There we create, for example, some mindfulness activities for the students. This is where we always have like a library story where we have maybe some extra art and music activities. But the idea is that the homeroom teachers on that day do not have to post anything. We've involved the head of our academy and myself. We are posting videos for the kids and we are setting the activities for them. And then we also providing some feedback. Now, depending on how many students you have, you might not be able to, but I have about 140 students in my program. And so I'm able to provide some feedback for them once a week, and it's okay. But that kind of really helped our teachers, and it promoted this mindfulness for our students and the well-being sessions for them.
It's a great tip, especially for all the schools that they are going to start again online this academic year, or they are still teaching and learning online, and maybe they didn't pay attention that we need this moment of just a relaxing day, any day of the week. It can be your Friday, it can be your Sunday, it can be your Tuesday, and not having the synchronous session every day for the whole day, because this will be really very tiring for the team, our team as teacher, and for our student, and maybe also the whole community.
Right, exactly. And so the assembly is also part of Fridays.
Nice.
And sometimes they are themed ones, and the kids love it. They can come dressed up to the assembly, or, you know, so we kind of vary that one, but that is something that has been very successful for us.
Okay.
Social gatherings, I think, are super important as well. I mean, and the top one of the things that I was able to do here at the school is that I live on campus, and I have an outdoor space where I can have my staff come over, and we can have a barbecue or something on a Friday night. And they enjoy this so much. So every other month we tend to get together and do it. Again, I want to kind of point out some of the cultural aspects that I wasn't quite aware of. And when I first started, I came in and I just sponsored these TGIFs for the staff. And they would come. And after a few of those, one of the teachers came over to me and he said to me, you know, we don't want you to sponsor all of these. We want to contribute to these. And it was a pride thing. They are all local teachers. You know, they don't have a large salary. At the end of the month, they tend to struggle with some of the payments they need to make. I used to have this at the end of the month, and they couldn't contribute because they didn't, you know, have any money left. But if once I started doing it at the beginning of a month after payday, they very much became involved in the planning of these things, and it just changed the whole dynamic of everything. So it's not just us giving, but they also wanted to give back, and they wanted to participate. So that was a great example for me, something that I learned along the way, that even though I wanted to give, I needed to value also my team and what they wanted to do. We also had outings that we organized just to the beach. So it was cheap, it was free, and anybody could come. And right there, we didn't just involve the teachers, but we had some of the maintenance guys come with us. We had some of the admin staff be there, and you know, some of the finance people came. And so it's just been really nice to open these things up and have social gatherings. Again, you need to kind of see who you have on your team, who will lead this, so it doesn't become an admin driven one, but still promotes the openness of inclusiveness, and that it doesn't just become one group. Other things that we have done for this is we've some events at school that are just kind of fun, where here we had traditional clothing, you know, people could wear some African garb that they had at home, and they were coming in, and it was just fantastic. Or our head of academy, he loves to play the guitar, just coming into a music lesson with his guitar, playing with the kids, made such a wonderful impact on the students. So just these little moments, teaching moments, and that kind of really can help build a culture.
They are powerful messages, like you're sending these and you're making your values or your mission and vision alive by even modeling it as leadership team, and then going into classes, leading some assemblies, sending some feedback to the students. So this is beautiful.
Thank you. So yeah, just some other ideas that I just kind of jotted together over here. What's really important, I think, is to get information about your staff, know the families, know who the kids that they have, maybe prepare a little bingo at the beginning if you have a lot of new staff, to getting people to know each other. If you're online and you can't get together, maybe organize a popcorn party where you all share a movie at home and create a chat group where you guys are all talking together. Those are just some ideas that kind of share some community. There are virtual games that people get involved in, or do a game night at school if you can be in there, where people just can get together and have some fun. One of my favorite things is just some personal notes. If you have teachers or staff that have done something wonderful, write them a little card, write them a little note and leave that for them. They go a very long way. The other thing we have done when we had Zoom sessions, staff meetings, very often I just changed the host to one of the teachers and I left the Zoom call, but I left it open. And sometimes they stayed on for another half an hour, just chit-chatting amongst each other. And that's the same even if you have a meeting, once it's finished, when the administration just leaves the room and leaves teachers there rather than staying the last one behind, that opens sometimes conversations that they just want to have amongst each other, and they just kind of feel comfortable staying in the space. Already talked about the social get-togethers, and another big one is the shout outs to colleagues. So while sometimes in a Zoom call or even in a meeting, we go, okay, who's got a shout out for a colleague, so that they can highlight each other some good ideas that they have seen. So those kind of things go a very long way. Any other ideas that you would like to throw in at this point, Ali?
I think we got plenty. Yeah, and I love this idea of the virtual game and then playing together from home. So
yeah. So again, this is time for you to reflect. What are some of the things that you do in your school? What might be some ideas that you have gathered from this session that you might be able to implement in your school? And yeah, those are the ideas that I wanted to share with everyone today.
Perfect. So I'm going to say thank you for
You're welcome.
For this webinar, and hopefully people will watch it, get ideas, and then they can implement them, and then let us know any feedback. So I'm going to just tell everyone that we're going to publish this hopefully today, and then on the 11th of September, we have our new webinar day, and it will be under the big title, We Are the Change. So we are going to talk about SDG, and we are going to talk about action and how we can start changing the world around us by changing ourselves. So yes, join me for a day. Yeah, a day full of speakers in English, in Arabic as usual, and I'm sure it will be a great experience. And again, we will be live.
All right. Thank you, Ali. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the sessions. Bye-bye.